Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of The Spread. I am KB, alongside Chris, Twos, and Unbound. Welcome. Guys, if you want to say a little hello.
Hi.
How you doing, everyone?
Hope everyone had a good Easter and a good break.
Yeah. Hope everyone's had a great Easter.
Good to be back on The Spread.
It is good to be back.
It is. It feels like a very long time, like more than 2 weeks. Actually, it's yeah.
It does. There's a lot that's happened too that we've missed out on talking about.
Yes.
Lots of esports stuff, that's for sure.
All right. Yeah. Well, we've got a fair bit to cover off tonight. So, where do we begin, guys? Well, I guess we'll start with the top. Something that I saw, well, that everyone's saw a couple of weeks ago, but it's still making its way around. The streamer that got the chargeback.
Yeah, this is it's a bit of a shitty thing that this guy just blatantly admits it just to make someone feel like shit.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke, unfortunately, but
And gets away with it. Like
the fact that PayPal didn't do anything, that's honestly what annoys me the most.
Well, the thing that interests me around that is that didn't PayPal bring out something new about chargebacks?
Yep.
Yes.
They did a little while ago.
Yeah.
Is there a link for the chat, by the way?
There is. There was a put, but I'll pop it. There wasn't one earlier. The Nightbot was putting one up. But here we go. I'll pop it in the chat for everyone to have a look.
Thanks.
No worries. There we go, guys. Yeah.
It's just crazy, honestly. The fact that somebody can just come along,
This was Geordie. I remember this.
fake donate to you, and just say, I didn't really want to do that anymore, and then just take it back, even months later.
Yeah, exactly. But to say that like you've done it to hurt not only the streamer but the community and everything like that, like I don't like everyone rallied for him and it went above and beyond to help the fella, which is incredible, absolutely incredible. But what did this guy what goes through people's heads, man? That's like I don't understand.
Obviously, something not right with this viewer. Basically, he said in the DMs that he wasn't trying to hurt Geordie, but he wanted to like send some message to the community or something.
Yeah. But yeah, 45, 90 days or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. No, and now that Twitch have allowed it, well, not allowed it, but have changed their payout method where you can get it every 45 days, well, I guess like after month's end plus 15 days if you've made over the 100 USD rather than the 2 months that it was. So it's a lot more beneficial now to get everything through them, I suppose, rather than through the donation side of things. And then also, depending on the size of the donation, PayPal take their little cut out of that as well. Chris is frozen. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to the call.
Am I back now? Hello?
Hello? I mean, we can.
There you go. I think. Is he alive on stream?
No, it's still frozen
Yeah,
on
he's
my
back.
end.
He's back on stream.
He's back
there
on
we
stream?
go. There we go.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
There we go.
All right. Sorry
So
about
everything
that.
I said was just all gone.
Uh,
That's alright, doesn't matter. Basically, I was saying, if you're a streamer, be careful. Make sure you wait the full PayPal period.
hmm.
Spend any money.
Yep. Correcto. Yeah, okay. So going on from that one, we may as well just no, you're right, go on.
I was just gonna say, just to finish that one off. I think the biggest point there is for any streamers who do watch big streamers like Shroud, Ninja, or anyone like that. Pay attention to what they're doing in terms of how they're trying to get people to donate to them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because they've got teams, people, who are all over this sort of stuff. Best ways to bring their revenue in, and subs can't charge back. So yeah, like Chris said, stick to your bits and your subs. You should be pretty clear.
Yeah, precisely. All right. So the next one we've got is the Intel Extreme Masters.
Yeah.
In Sydney.
The return of IAM Sydney.
All right. Who wants to kick this one off?
So essentially,
Myself and Brad, have you been before, Josh?
no, I've never actually been, but I've seen enough about it.
Well, myself and Braden have been, so maybe
Yeah.
Braden can talk about it first.
I mean, it's sort of the experience you expect if you go overseas to any of the other IEMs.
Cool. That is. Hmm.
Quiet when things are going down, yet it could be the shittiest kill in the game, yet the whole crowd's just on its feet, going insane, doing shoeies. Yeah, it's probably one of the best experiences, in terms of LAN environments that people need to get to.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason I haven't really attended in the past was mostly just because it never really worked out in my favor, timing and money wise. But it's mostly centered around CS:GO, right?
Yes, although this year they brought in the Overwatch Contenders final as well. So it's a stadium, and for the last, I think it's been running 3 years. This is the 4th year, I'm pretty sure. They just cut the stadium in half, and they just run CS, and then the other half is like there's no people in the stands. But this year they're actually going to be using the whole stadium. The second half will be the Overwatch Contenders final, and the main stage
Wow.
will still be CS. So yeah, it's definitely a lot bigger this year.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely going to be a lot better.
I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I'm just gonna slightly interject here. I'm just reading the chat because we're apparently having issues with the scene that brings up the internet.
Okay, won't swap back over to that one then for the rest of the night. I'll just leave it as it is. I'll have to have a look at it. Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
Yeah, so let's get back into the IEM stuff. So Greyhound and Chiefs, again, jumping up onto the IEM stage. Lots of promise coming out of these two teams, although we haven't seen too much coming from the Chiefs end. Big expectations coming out from Greyhound coming into this one. Showing lots of promise overseas, but not only that, I mean, we've only got to look at our players that have recently joined Renegades, and that team's now top 5 team. So we've definitely got the promise, we've definitely got the talent.
Just whether or not we perform on the day or not, it's just going to be.
That's exactly right. But hopefully we can get the boys up there again, which just means it's going to be more exposure for our boys.
Exactly right. Yeah. I mean, it's sort of like a weird scene with CS:GO. It's pretty much any team on the day could take it. They're all so. You can sort of as it gets slower, towards more of like the FACEIT tournaments, you sort of see more of a differential between the IAM teams and like the international qualifying teams. But when you go to, it honestly is, when you get to the LAN, any team on that day could win it. So it's going to be an event to catch.
The big thing here is that there's no Australis, so it's definitely going to be a big match, you know. So obviously, let's just get the teams that are invited. So we got Renegades, FaZe, MIBR, Nip, Team Liquid, Mouse Sports, NRG, Fnatic, Big, E United, Visi Gaming, MVP, Boot, Leto. I don't think I've actually seen them before, but they're from SEA. Greyhound, Chiefs, and Heroic. So yeah, it should be pretty good.
I mean, that's a pretty solid turnout, org-wise and team-wise.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
It's going to be an
Yeah.
interesting
Like
watch.
the crowd that they'll draw alone, just having for their following and everything like that will be incredible.
It will be insane. It is going to be.
Well, it's good that we're
Catch.
now starting to see more predominant, you know, big comps like this in Australia. I mean, we've got Melbourne Esports Open, which we'll talk about that a little on later in the show. We've got IEM, we've got PAX, and now we're starting to see a lot more talk in terms of other TOs coming into our space and bringing in, you know, bigger tournaments. I mean, Apex has got their $35,000 comp going through. I can't remember the name.
Mogul.
Yeah, that's the one, Mogul.
Yeah, Mogul.
You know, we're starting to see a lot more games come out, and it's not just all about, you know, League and CS anymore. We're seeing Fortnite, Rocket League still sort of there, but it's not as big as what it once was in OS. But hands down, you know, keeping IEM in Australia is definitely what's keeping CS alive here for us.
Oh, for sure.
The times be a changing.
Yeah, and this year, PLE's got a booth there again. PLE's our major sponsor, and there are some streamers that we've organised to stream from their booths. So keep an eye out for more about that during the week. But
yeah, definitely keep an eye on our socials. If anyone is interested in getting tickets, it is 3rd to 5th of May this year. Standard tickets are $69. There obviously are different tier levels of tickets you can get, but if you just want to rock up, enjoy what the crowd's got to offer, enjoy what, you know, these teams are going to put on, $69, you can't go wrong.
Oh, absolutely. It's so worth, just from what I've seen online, to go to just visit and even attend. But unfortunately, yeah, it's just a matter of, sometimes it's a matter of getting to where it is. A lot of people I know live in Melbourne, and getting up to Sydney isn't necessarily the easiest for a lot of people.
Well, last year the biggest problem we've seen with the event itself was the crowd just cracked the shits because they basically said no more shoeies, and it is at Kudos Bank Arena again. So it'll be interesting to see how security and everything's going to handle that one again this year. But hopefully they do allow the shoeies, because it's sort of a bit of a tradition.
It's an Australian tradition.
It really
no,
is.
you won't see it again. It's because it's in Sydney. The laws are very strict here. The venue's already said that responsible drinking must be upheld. People get kicked out. They don't want to put their license on the line. It's already been tweeted by Carmack. Anyone that does a shoe will be kicked out instantly. Yeah, so you won't see that, but you'll probably see some rogue shoeies. But they're very strict on it.
Some sneaky shoeies.
I saw Forge on Twitter. Forge is like a veteran CS:GO player in Australia. He was saying that on the last round of the final, the entire stadium should do a shoey because who cares? We're gonna leave anyway.
They did that last year. Everyone ended up just doing shoeies, and it was like, well, you can't kick us all out. And that was just great. But yeah, hopefully people do stick to the rules, and this is an event that we can sort of peer.
Yeah.
ESL is in a tough spot, right? Because they don't want to lose they want to keep the venue happy. They don't want to get kicked out and not be allowed to host it again. You know, also the fans are going to do what they want. So yeah, I think the way they're handling it is perfectly good.
Yeah, they're doing just fine.
Yeah, it'd be good. But I like it because it's being in Canberra. You can go to something, like everything seems to be in Melbourne, and it's nice to have the option to be able to go to something to Sydney that's a little bit closer than having to catch a plane.
Are you going, KV?
I'm thinking about it. I'm trying to con the missus into letting me buy a ticket, so we'll see.
Actually, I just want to touch base here, just back on the Contenders thing. Remember how Blizzard came out, I think it was end of last year or maybe the start of this year, how there was going to be no event this year come Overwatch? how Blizzard had pretty much basically pulled all of their funding out of OCE to inject back into NA.
Yep.
So this is, on another note too, is a good sign for Overwatch to show that they're still getting those LAN events. Players still have something to play for.
Well, the scene could definitely use a injection of like life into it, because not that Overwatch is dying or anything; it's still a perfectly good game. But
it's a good game, but
we don't see a lot of org support and like esports support in the sense. I mean, there's
Not
the massive
anymore.
Overwatch League, but not in OCE.
Yeah, no, it's not what it was. Like, it's sort of dwindled a bit, I guess. It's
stagnated. Is probably the
yeah,
best.
yeah.
I'm just hoping, because I mean, I like Overwatch. I love watching it. I love playing it. It's quite a fun game. I just kind of hope there's some sort of, I mean, it's a nice incentive nonetheless to be able to, like, they have the Overwatch contenders there. I don't know. It just feels like we don't see enough of it.
Well, see, this is a problem. In OCE alone, our entire country, Australia, is basically borderline to the same sort of population as half of NA, quarter of EU. And we just can't put up those viewing numbers. I mean, you look at any Overwatch stream or even some CSGO streams that aren't, the top 5 teams. They're lucky to break 1,000 concurrent views. And in terms of in trying to market that event here in Australia, there's just no sort of ROI there for them to sort of say, hey, here's another 500 mil to sort of do whatever you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
They're not going to get the return on that. So to see little things like this to keep popping up, to slowly, build that environment back up, is good to see. Doing it at IEM as well is even better, because I know they're going to get the numbers watching it their live stage, because everyone's already there to watch CS. So it'll be good. Good news for Overwatch, good news for CSGO. Things are starting to look up for Overwatch.
And esports in Australia, just in general, honestly, things are starting to look a little more positive around here.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's this is probably this is about the third major thing I think this year with it, like with the footy teams and everything like that we discussed previously. Like it's moving along.
It's nice to see, especially just we've been sort of
neglected,
a little behind. Yeah, neglected a little bit.
We never well, that's the thing. Like, no one really ever takes Australia and New Zealand seriously in anything, like, I guess, video game or anything like that related, because we're just so far away. And yeah,
I've always said that. Yeah, it's so hard to break, like, to bridge that differential in, because obviously I saw this a lot in Rocket League, right? North America, Europe have 2 times, 4 times as many players as OCE does on average.
Mm-hmm.
So the skill cap is going to grow a lot quicker. So we only really get maybe 2 or 3 international events a year.
Yep.
To sort of prove ourselves as a region and sort of take the knowledge from those international events and grow. And we're only really stumped so much by the chances that we're given international.
Yeah, but see, to bring back to your point there, Ambian, it's not so much. I don't really base it, because we've got a low population that our skill gap's lower, right? I don't believe in that, because we're putting players out there. We're showing, that we have players that grind and grind non-stop. I mean, we've only got to look at the Australian PUBG scene. I mean, there is no matchmaking servers whatsoever for PUBG. Yet you look at the players. They're absolutely thriving. They're going to Malaysia. They're going overseas constantly. We've got 2 players that have just announced, contracts internationally, which we'll touch base on. It all comes down to the players. And when it comes to players thinking, well, I deserve this because I'm playing at this level, well, it doesn't work like that. If you want to play at that international level and you actually want to earn that big bucks, instead of demanding it, you need to grind and put the effort into it. I mean,
it won't come to you. You've got to, you've got to go out and show yourself, and
And the PUBG players have paved the way to show that, that it doesn't matter how much support the game gets. It all comes down to how much effort you're willing to put into it.
100%. And like you see that pretty much anytime you look up Incognito, you just look like even just the most recent event, the FACEIT International that they went to, they came 10th. That puts them 10th in
10th in the world.
10th in the world, and they're an Australian team that's not signed to an organization.
Far out.
I
think
Yeah,
it
but
was
see,
their
they-
first international as well, wasn't it?
It was
was their first, yeah.
national. And it was probably the, in my opinion, the first team that should have gone international.
Oh,
But-
absolutely.
But hands down, those boys have stuck together. I think there's been 2 or 3 roster changes in the whole 3 years those guys have been together.
Yeah, that just proves consistency is the most
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. You see it all the time. You see so many roster changes when you're looking at like the lower level grade of esports, like the CGAs, the CGMs, the rank Bs, the rank Cs. You see roster changes every goddamn week, and it's just like, I promise you, stay as a team.
Incognito have done so well, and that would probably come down to a lot to do with their manager as well, Ezra.
Yeah, we've had her on here.
She come up with the crowdfunding and all that to get the boys over there, to give them a bit of pocket money, and all that sort of stuff.
And it's
And
those
it's good.
things, of going like above and beyond when you believe in your people and you do anything more or less to be able to get them those experiences. It's incredible.
Yeah. And that's what it's all about. It's all about experience, right? I mean, I can talk about my past and the amount of players that I've spoken to that have come to me saying, "Oh, I'm currently number 1. I deserve $1,000 a week. This, that," and it's like, go fuck yourself, buddy. That's not how it works. If I give you all this money, what are you going to give me in return? Like, you can put out all the best results you want, but if you're not a marketable player, I'd rather go with someone that's 3rd best but can put out, good
consistent.
content.
Has,
Exactly.
and doesn't mind doing like those extra other things on the side, like making videos or exploring their marketability, essentially.
It's all about grinding and never giving up, and knowing what you're worth. Don't come in, all big dick and cocky, thinking you're worth, $1 million more than what you are.
No.
Come in, work with someone that is going to work to help better your career, your future in this industry. Because the guys that are offering, the most on a contract might not be the best alternative in the long run. We see plenty of orgs out there that'll be like, yeah, we'll help you, we'll do this, we'll give you money. But then we say, oh, there's another org that hasn't paid, salary. Oh, there's another org that hasn't paid salary. Oh, there's another org that hasn't committed to what they're going to say. It's all, do your due diligence, and make sure you're paying attention to what's going on around you.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about here. I feel like we could talk about this.
Oh, for sure.
I haven't even started talking. I've got a lot to say on all these topics. But I guess to all the players out there, you really got to just focus on everything, to be honest. You can't slack on socials. You can't slack on content. Obviously, try and be the best at the game as your priority all the time. But it doesn't take very long to put out a tweet a day or to, maybe do a really quick video if you can. Doesn't even have to be crazy edited, just has to be out there. Because that gets your name out there to orgs, it gets your name out there internationally, and that's how you get noticed. It's really hard to notice players if they're not on socials, if they're not on Discord, if they're not putting out content. It's easy if you're the best, but if, let's say, you're top 5, you might be worth picking up. But if you're top 5 and you're not putting out anything, well, someone might pass on you for someone who is, similar in skill, but is putting out a lot of content. So, if you're a player, you got to focus on your own brand, as well as in game.
See, like, the one thing that I always say, well, one thing that I've picked up on saying nowadays, just from my time being in the esports admin scene, is you tend to see the trend of the people who make the most of themselves being the ones that sort of push their marketability and explore as many possible avenues as to how they can market themselves and brand themselves. You see those ones as the ones that sort of make or break the whole sort of scene, essentially. Like, you can have a look in Fortnite, right? You see Mr. Fresh Asian. Mr. Fresh Asian. He's got a crazy amount of subs on YouTube. He is signed to Renegades. He's got a massive following on Twitter. It's those things that matter, the ones that push the boundaries and sort of put in the effort and explore as many possible avenues as you can. Those are the ones that you sort of, the diamond in the rough, I'd say, is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
Yep. What's next on the topic list?
All
Let's start
right.
getting through these.
Yeah, the next one is the Rocket League Oceania. They're looking for people to help grow the community
Just super skim on this one. Essentially, I come from a Rocket League background. I actually started this whole sort of journey at RLR as a writer, and that's how I sort of met Chris. I started doing writing projects for Jam before I came on board, and now they're looking for more. Essentially, they're looking for more volunteers and people to help sort of grow what they're doing. Because as much as the Rocket League scene has sort of bridged away from using RLO as like a main hub of sorts, they still do a very good job of keeping the whole community up to date with tournaments and everything that's going on. And everyone that I've met there has been just nice as all hell. So
Well, Dover's still in charge of that there, isn't he?
it's still Dover, Nolsky, and Beatnik.
Oh, well, there you go. So if anyone's looking for sort of a gateway entrance to esports, whether it's all the behind the scenes sort of stuff, hosting games, running events,
Or even
monitoring
just to grow your
scores
skills.
or anything, yeah,
Like I
I'll
only
check
really,
the link up
I
in the
only,
Twitch
I
and fill
only
it
really,
out.
like personally, I only really went into RLO looking to like sort of bridge how good I was at writing. Like I didn't think I was anything special, and then did a couple of reports. Started up the RLO Weekly. This is going back a few years now, and then caught wind of other people. I got into Wikipedia. I got a journalist job at the Raw. A whole heap of different things, all just from doing like something that I never thought I'd actually be doing through RLO. So like there's definitely a path open of sorts.
Mm.
So
And you don't even have to like Rocket League. Like, if you want to get in management or something, it's very similar across games. Obviously, it's easier if you like the game, but if you want an in, look for these kind of positions in anything and just get experience, because that's how people get to know you, and how you get into other jobs is by getting that experience. So
exactly. It's all stepping stone sort of jobs.
yeah, and there are people now that work at Gfinity, full time, that used to work or used to volunteer at places like RL.
Nolsky, for example, he runs the Australian Rocket League GFIN whole circuit. He's the GFIN Rocket League admin with B-Bears.
Yeah.
So, and he started off at ESL. So these kinds of jobs are just massive pathway openers if you're interested in getting into esports.
Yep.
Adminship.
We say it a lot on this show, but if the easiest way, people always ask like, how do I get into this? How do I start doing this? You just got to jump in and do it. Just, if you can't get into an organization, just put out content by yourself and just post it in Discords and see if you can get some traction. And then at least you've got examples to show people. Like, if you want to be a writer, you can say, well, I've done this and this and this. Don't wait, don't sit back and watch other people. You got to get involved and help.
Yeah.
Perseverance is key.
Jump in head first for sure.
Well,
May as well jump onto the next one.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Let's segue into the other segue. Let's segue into the other Rocket League news. The Esports Shop.
Yes, that's a big one. But it's actually a bit disappointing at the same time. So
I am not pleased with this at all. I'm really not.
A big thing that come out, well, me and Chris had spoken on this previously, when I first hooked up with Jam, was having in-game items, giving orgs another avenue to make money as well as players. Downside to this is that OS and Sam have been left out completely. So basically OS being the biggest hype factor. I mean, you look at any OS team that's gone overseas, they could be playing shithouse against one of the best teams, yet you still hear OCE getting chants in the crowd. So to see that sort of stuff is a bit disappointing. But
It's
at the same
very
time,
disappointing.
we can only really wait and see. I'm sure they'll bring out something down the track when we're a bit more stable, a bit more things going on in our scene.
Well, honestly, I personally think that's just a load of horse shit, and I'll be straight up and blunt about it. OC has only ever gotten better at RLCS, especially with Chiefs. We went from our first season, we were essentially just bombed out, but Chiefs beat G2. No, I can't remember. It was like the first season that we were in RLCS.
They beat one team and Jam lost both their games, and then the next season Chiefs got one extra round.
And then last season they came fourth. They got into the semis. So I mean, we're only progressing further and further internationally, at least with this one team. Nonetheless, progressively we're getting, and we're sorts of things. Like we hacks. We don't get invites to international events. We just get left out completely. And this is another one that we just got left out of, and I just don't understand why. This is the thing. They didn't even contact Josh from Icon to see if like they wanted to be a part of it. They just didn't contact anyone. They just left him out.
Is it laziness, or is it deliberate, or is it just?
I'd
say it's deliberate. I'd say it's something. It'll be a hype factor. It's like any iPhone or Galaxy that comes out. You know, they're not going to release everything at once. They're going to do it on a slow pace. So
I
think
there's probably
over months.
There's probably also some legal stuff involved where doing stuff across in different countries, different business entities is probably a bit more difficult.
Yeah, licenses, etc., etc. I mean, the other thing that's like a little worrying on that topic, at least, is that even some North American and European teams that are in it right now, like PSG, didn't get anything. FC Barcelona that just signed their Rocket League team not long ago, they didn't get involved. I mean, they probably missed out on all of that stuff. But I mean, to not have PSG in there is, I just don't understand why they focused more on having RLRS organizations like Splice. It's just an annoyance, really. At the end of the day.
All right. Well, they have said that they're looking to expand regions into next.
Yeah, I guess you can only really do so much.
Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to know. I mean, I'm sure we're still an option on the list. It's just a matter of, I feel like that would have been a nice way to engage the OCE scene again, to sort of say, yeah, we see you. We're still trying to support you guys. Yada yada. Actually, give us something in game to say we recognize you, rather than just skip out on us. But
the cars look really sick too. Let's just
the cars look freaking awesome in game. Like the C9 decals look. Oh my god, they're gorgeous.
Anyway, speaking of old and new stuff, Halo.
Yes.
The big announcement coming out from Halo. It's not a big prize pool, but nonetheless, there's a Halo 4 competition that's going to be run out of Queensland. Halo 3, sorry, which is the Queensland Logan land. They're going to have multiple setups here, so I believe they're going to have 4v4s, 2v2s set up. They've already gone through the seeding stage, but for Halo in general, this is probably the first thing I've heard about Halo in the past 18 months.
Yeah, so this is happening. Well, this is actually happening today. No, wait. Today? Today. Yesterday and today. Yeah. So it's currently happening at the moment. They're playing it. 4v4 and 2v2. 4v4 Halo 3 and 2v2 Halo 2 on the Xbox One X.
I didn't think Halo was popular enough to have this sort of play base.
I think
it's just like a local sort of get together, like LAN party.
Well, they've always held LAN competitions for it, I guess. But and that's one of the things with this. It's like you get into it, but then you've got to take your own equipment and everything.
Yeah,
so
I know enough about those.
Oh, the old school 90 LANs, Chris. You'd remember them.
Yeah, I used to carry my giant 21-inch CRT monitor.
But
it weighed like more than my tower now.
I was watching a little bit of it before because they were broadcasting it on Twitch, and it was so good to watch. Like it was really entertaining.
Well, speaking of Halo and these tournaments, didn't they just recently announce that Halo's coming to PC?
Indeed, they did.
Well, yeah, they did.
Indeed, they did.
We covered that just a few weeks ago, actually.
As much as all these small-time console tournaments that are coming out, it's very impressive and it's good. I mean, big picture here is that as soon as this thing comes out on PC, I don't know about you guys, but when I was 16 and in high school, all of us boys were in the lab playing Halo. We had a ripped copy of Halo on our USB, plug and play, off we go.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of happy campers out there.
We're all waiting for PC for sure.
Oh, we're all waiting. And when Halo comes out, my money is on Halo to blow up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think Halo's going to be pretty popular.
Because when you look at Halo and everything they got around it, they've got red versus blue, and then you've got everything else that's
already
around it.
It's already had like a pretty dominant esports scene for so long.
Yeah,
it's already lined up. It's 100% just lined up to come back. It's
such a nice change from all the BRs, and it's very easy to watch.
On that
There's
topic
actual
of
skill
BRs with it, they did an interview with one of the devs from 343 Industries about if Halo Infinite will have BR, and he said, "Nah, no way." Like he goes, it's not a game mode. It's just a like he goes, you could probably create it yourself now in Forge if you wanted to. He goes, I'm sure people have, but he goes, it's not what Halo's about. Like it's not your core game function.
Yeah.
And that's
No,
really nice to
it
know that
should-
they're
if-
not just going to sell out and add BR for the sake of BR. They're keeping Halo as Halo, and I think that'll be a really good benefit for them because that's
Yeah.
what people love.
Yeah,
Like,
I think they
about
know
Halo.
they know their product, they know their consumers, they know what they're trying to do here.
Yeah.
They're not trying to reinvent the wheel. They're just trying to expand on the success that they've already had with the series, and bringing it out on PC and just kind of porting it to PC would be relatively simple. So it just seems like something that they're not trying to make it
it'll be interesting
overcomplicated.
to see as well if people who already own it on Xbox will just get free to play on PC because
I'm
they do have that
hoping.
Xbox function.
Yeah, I'm hoping it'll be that play anywhere function as well. Because that will be, yeah.
But at
That
the
would be
same time,
nice.
they're looking to make their entrance to PC and to sort of establish funds to tournaments or anything like that. They are going to need to put some sort of catch on it, whether that comes down to in-game items or however they're going to run it. I think they're going to get the support that they need, and I seriously cannot wait because for me, in my mind, Halo is one of the things that sort of kicked off esports in Australia, and it sort of kicked off the whole cosplay too. Cosplay is sort of the first starting point that a lot of people went to. It's Halo,
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Everyone was dressing up as Chief. Everyone was loving it. And yeah, all the models, the shows, everything around it. It's going to be big.
Especially, yeah, for sure. It's got a massive community around it, and it's going to be something to really see, just how it goes. I mean, I personally think they're all set up and pretty much lined up to just reinvigorate everything.
I think that's the thing. People, like you talk to a lot of people lately, and they're going, "Oh, I don't know what to play. There's nothing really good to play. I've played everything, blah blah blah." But yeah, I reckon once Halo redrops on PC, it'll reinvigorate a lot of that team-based gaming.
I hope so.
And move away, and move away from sort of the BR sort of thing. Like BR is good and it has its place, don't get me wrong, but I think it's too saturated and people are over it, and they need to go back to what made gaming great at that point.
Before we move on from this, I just want to also say about this tweet how great it is that the global Halo Esports account is like mentioning
pushing that out.
a little
awesome.
Australian
Yeah.
tournament. Like that's something you don't see all the time. So that's great. Obviously, maybe that's a good sign for when they pick up esports with PC that they're going to be supporting every region.
Well, I hope so. It's gonna be it's gonna be something to see. I personally think that it's gonna be something really great for us. So.
All right, let's move on. What else are we talking about?
All right. The next one down the list that we have is to jump back to PUBG.
Yes, my mate Neph and his mate Tiggleton both picked up international deals. Neph is going to Battle Arena, I believe. And Tiggleton went across to Sonic's Esports in Pennsylvania.
That's crazy. 2 international signings.
Which is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, looking at PUBG in Australia is just an absolute meme in itself. All of our players, just to play a few games, they got to play on C servers or got to play on NA servers.
Yeah.
Which in itself, is sort of good training for these guys when they do get put into the LAN, aspect, because they're just gonna frag out.
Yeah.
But regardless, Neph and Tiggleton, are probably 2 of the most hardworking players from the very start of PUBG. Neph tried his hand in CS and then Overwatch and then jumped on the PUBG. And since the start, he's been one of the top players, top standouts. And for him to actually get a home is really good. He was part of the first team that actually went international for PUBG with Atletico. And they, it wasn't a great performance, but regardless, he was a part of the first team, and then he did a couple of more, one under Team Immunity, and then one under some other team I can't remember.
And now he's moved over to Malaysia.
But regardless, this just comes back to perseverance. You know, you make the situation what you want it to be. These boys took, you know, the world's shittest situation and turned it into, you know, a full-time gig. So,
Well, yeah, props to them. They've done crazy amounts of work to be able to get to that. Like, we don't see it very often. I mean, we're seeing it actually more often, especially Drip being signed over in Rocket League and Jake to TSM as a coach, and now we're seeing this. People internationally are recognizing how good Australian players actually are. Obviously, you know, Renegades and CS:GO is another example. And it's really refreshing and nice to see these players who put so much on the line to be able to just give this their all.
Maybe
And
then-
Fortnite's the next frontier, maybe.
Well,
hopefully, fingers crossed, because there's lots of pros and positives coming out of Fortnite lately. I mean, the biggest con, in my opinion, with Fortnite is that the players are sort of turning against the game in terms of what the devs are doing to it.
Oh, are they what?
Having
Far
the
out.
one screen resolution is, in my opinion, idiotic. And all these other things that they got going on, I mean, it's not a good look. I mean, the players are what's keeping this game alive, in terms of bringing the viewers in, that, and to see that they're not really being listened to, it is kind of bad. But then at the same time, Epic are just like, well, do you want money or not? So
Yeah, like the money is definitely keeping all the pros there reluctantly. I think pretty much every pro player doesn't play outside of you know, comp and scrims.
yeah,
So, but you know, when you a game as big as Fortnite and the pro community is probably like between 10 or less % of the actual entire game, it's hard for a company to devote a lot of time to it. So I kind of understand where Epic is, like why they're neglecting it, because it's probably just not something that they can afford to put resources into when they want to keep all the casuals happy to keep making the bulk of the money. That's where the money comes in, from the casuals, not from pros.
No, but having said that, the flip side to that coin, the amount of money that they have generated from all their V-Bucks, though, like, I'm sure they're up 20-fold.
It's billions, yeah. Of course, yeah. It's also like esports these days is a way to keep a game running for a long time. It's a way to generate interest in the game when it's, you know, through tournaments and through streamers and all that. But does Fortnite really need that? Because they're already so massive that if everyone stopped streaming Fortnite, which they might do, you know, within a year, I don't think Fortnite's going to die. I think it'll still continue on as a pretty large game. Will it?
Well, it's got nice casual sort of.
see, this is
Playfield,
where the problem comes. We're starting to look at Battle Royale as big genre of esports, but at the same time, with you know, the path, that Fortnite's on, it's sort of confusing to me, because when you look at games like Apex Apex Legends that are starting to come out, which are pretty similar, you just don't have that building function. You know, that's taking off pretty big here in OCE, and we're already seeing a lot of top tier players have already made the push across just because of the promises devs have already made. And, you know, in saying that, devs making promises, it's take a grain of salt, you know.
Well, yeah, we've seen enough examples
not
of
much
that
there,
just leading absolutely nowhere.
But at the same time, you know, Epic really do need to sort of step up their game and sort of give a couple of things, you know, that these pro players are asking for to sort of stay relevant. Because, in my opinion, Ninja is what made Epic what it is today.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
And if he
Without
jumps
that
ship
at all.
onto someone else, you know, if someone says, you know, we've got this next best game coming out, what do you think, blah, blah, he jumps ship, and then every other streamer jumps ship. It's just going to be like PUBG in OCE and every other game that comes before.
Yeah, I reckon he might make the jump ship back to Halo, because that's where he made his.
Yeah, I think Ninja will 100% play Halo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt.
You know, whether he will make it his main game or not, who knows? But I kind of disagree with Ninja made Epic. I think the game would have been successful without Ninja. I think that if anything, Fortnite made Ninja. Because the game was so huge.
It made him a household name, that's for sure. Like, 100%.
Like, if it wasn't him, it would have been some other streamer. So I don't think that necessarily without Ninja, Fortnite wouldn't be massive. It was going to be massive no matter what. But, you know, streamers obviously played a big part in keeping the ball rolling. And It's just the decisions that Epic make with the competitive side. It's like they're trying to play both sides. You can't really do that with esports. You can't design patches and all that around esports and around casuals at the same time. That's never worked, and we've seen that numerous times in the past with other games. So they kind of have to choose whether they want to have a proper esports scene and do something so that the pros are happy and fix it, or ditch it completely and just maybe make everything third party. Just let ESL handle everything, or all the third party organizers. Allow them to roll back whatever updates, allow all that to happen, and just run like a classic Fortnite or something. Let the community choose what they want to play as a competitive mode, and then they can continue doing everything on casual. That's an idea.
That's actually a genius idea. Like, pick a stable version that everyone that was good or whatever, and run it from that. It's actually real solid.
It has its positives and negatives, because if you're a new player and you're playing the official version of Fortnite, which isn't an esports version, well, swapping over to an esports version might be very difficult unless it's done in collaboration with Fortnite. Like, maybe there's an extra option in their menu which is like specifically says esports, and that's what you click to go to the esports. Like, it has to be in collaboration with the client, is what I'm saying. And then
for sure. See, I've always kind of gotten a little stuck on how League of Legends players do that, because they go back patches when they're playing LCS games. I'm not sure if it still happens, but it used to happen quite a bit, and I was never really sure how that would impact a player's performance, having to go home and play on a different patch to what they've got to play on a stage. Things change quite drastically in between updates, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the classical sort of change everything, leave it in third-party hands seems like the most practical way to go about building this sort of thing in a nice way. So
I hope that a lot of games start moving towards that model or that system in the future.
Well, yeah, I mean, giving sort of handing the reins to the people that will actually listen to what everyone around them is wanting is probably it's probably the smartest way to go about the whole wave of esports. You'd think it would be a no-brainer to sort of, if you can, lighten the load on your thing and
on your dev team.
Yeah.
Like, working with third parties, I think, is really smart, because you can,
as long as you as a dev make the initiative to sort of push them, reward the third party. Then I mean, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't do that. It seems like the most practical answer.
It takes a lot of trust, because you're entrusting your IP with someone else, and that can have serious consequences if
you
they
have to
mess
be
it up.
careful with
So
those sort of things.
yeah, I definitely think that.
But if you went out with the initiative to build that into the game, then I'm sure you'd be able to work around, or figure out a workaround at least, so not put so much weight on the decision of putting that into your game. I don't know.
I think once the tournament organizers get more developed over time, you'll see professional systems in place where they can cooperate with devs on a game level, and take some of the load off. But there'll be heavy legal contracts involved about what they can't do. But maybe you'll see tournament organizers hiring developers, and those developers will be working on specific games on the esports section of it.
That could be cool. I mean, there's a lot of room for growth and improvement there, at least. So.
Like, because at the moment, TOs are the link between developers and players. So we need them. The developers need them. The players need them. Everyone needs them. So, there's going to have to be some sort of investment into the organizers to, keep these games going. Keep the esports side of all these games as healthy as possible for the players, rather than leaving it all to the devs who often don't make correct decisions. You should leave it to TOs who can then hire esports experts with a little bit of trust from the devs. I think
And
that
then-
can be, a good thing.
Well, yeah, it seems
Yeah.
like that is probably the safest and, or at least the most intuitive way to build like a flourishing esports scene. So maybe more devs could pick up on that and actually make some sort of planned involvement in that. Because
Yeah,
I mean,
if I was a dev, let's say I worked high up in ESL, I would definitely be talking to all the developers constantly about how we can work together to improve the esports side of their games, because
it is the key to longevity. 100%.
of
Yeah.
course, yeah. And if you're a TO and there's all these new games, but they don't have good, like they're not a good esport, well, no one's going to come to your tournaments. So it's
No.
it's
Yeah.
it's essential as a TO that the games understand how they can be played, like the developers understand how their games can be played as an esport, and then you need to be helping them to facilitate that, to make sure that you create the best possible environment for esports. So to me, it's up to the TOs to incentivize and to help the developers as much as they possibly can.
But it sounds like a win-win for everyone. Like,
Well, you'd think it would be, but
Yeah.
I mean, we're not seeing these sorts of plans and developments put into games. So.
No, I think it's something that's still years away,
Hmm.
but I'm hoping that TOs are thinking about this kind of thing, because if they're not, and like they have to leave a lot of it to developers because they own all the IP.
Yeah.
But they should at least have a conversation with them about how they can work together. And if a legal conversation has to happen, I think they should obviously explore that, because they need the developers.
Hmm.
Oh, 100%. There's definitely avenues that could be explored for these sorts of things, like growth and longevity and overall
Oh, definitely, yeah.
terms of enjoyment that I think are just unfortunately being left in the dust a little bit. But I mean, yeah, as you said, we're probably a good couple of years away from this sort of stuff. But that's the beauty about growth, At least we can have these ideas on the forefront and be like, this would be ideal to have, and hopefully someone out there hears this and agrees and makes a fair, like, it goes out and pushes for that and makes a plan and makes it all happen. Because I mean, it's only going to go upwards from there, I think. So.
Well, before we move on, I think I want to take it to the, because Unluckie asked a really good question. So Unluckie asked, esports isn't new, but it's relatively new. Does anyone want to chime in about the history of esports?
I think you're in a pretty good position to do that, but it's
Okay.
it's new. It is. Well, I'll just say my little snippet. It is and it isn't. Like, it's new in the concept of how it is today and how mainstream it's become, but it's not like it has been around since the Quake days and things like that.
Oh, it goes way further back than the Quake days.
But,
I mean, something that's important to note with this sort of topic is that esports is just isn't the old, like, couch fighter, sort of games, and it's not just simple in your LAN backyard, garage basement sort of tournaments anymore. It's become such this grandstand frontier of how gamers can represent themselves on a world stage and see and show these people, give it a shot. I can guarantee you it's not as easy as you might think it is. Just because we're playing video games doesn't necessarily mean that it's just you can pick it up at the click of a finger and be these internationally good. But yeah, I mean, esports has come a very long way, and it's going to keep coming a lot quicker than we think.
Josh is turning into a robot, but
Yeah, my internet's not great tonight, unfortunately. I'm sorry,
so
guys.
yeah, like the term esports has probably been around for since like the early 2000s. So like I want to say 2003, 2002. But obviously competitive gaming has been happening for longer than that. But the first like international tournaments and even tournaments like massive LANs with 100 to 200 people were happening back in the early 2000s. In the US, they tried to professionalize it around like 2008 with series, like televised tournaments that happened in the US back then. They weren't successful. didn't take off. I think it was a bit too early.
Yeah.
Korea has always had a strong esports
Oh yeah.
scene, so that was
Korea
kind
have had a competitive league structure backdating to the original CS from 1995.
yeah, and like StarCraft
Mm.
Yeah,
one,
StarCraft has always been
Oh
big. Same
yeah.
as Warcraft. The original
Warcraft, yeah.
series. I think
So
it
that
was 95 to 2000. They had $1 million prize pool
Oof.
total.
yeah,
Not $1
Wow.
million prize pool. It was $1 million in total for 5 years from 95 to 1000.
yeah. So South Korea has always been very strong, but it's taken a while to catch on in the Western world. But yeah, it's exploded in the last 5 years since Twitch, really. And since League of Legends was the first, and StarCraft as well. StarCraft 2 was that time back in like 2014.
Mm.
No, even earlier than that, I think. Like
12? Was it
2000,
12?
maybe 2012. Yeah,
Yeah.
2012, I think. Was when we started seeing like bigger tournaments because of Twitch and just more exposure, I guess, with the Western
We've
world.
seen, I guess the best way you can look at it is the way esports sort of shaped was when Dota 2 came out with its $1 million, or was it $2 million prize pool? It was a
Yeah, it was
massive
2 million.
international tournament. I think it was back in 2008. No, it was late. Yeah, it was around 2010. And that's when we started seeing, bigger tournaments with bigger prize pools. Everything was sort of kicking off because when Dota was live on Twitch, they were pushing, couple of 100,000 views, and that's what sort of changed the landscape, in my opinion. But the way to look at esports is just like the human evolution. Everything has its stages. Esports went through its stages. We went through arcade gaming, then we went through everyone having their own sort of LAN sort of setups. People investing their own money, which then those people turn into TOs, working for like other companies, taking their money to invest into big scenes. But yeah, it's pretty much just like any evolution scale. Esports is now going through its evolution stage, and hopefully within the next 5 years we'll see it, as the predominant, sport that everybody watches.
Yeah, so my prediction, what will happen is we're in hyper growth right now. So there's a lot of investment coming in, a lot of money, and a lot of companies are probably overvalued because of all this VC money that's come in and
Yeah.
inflated all the everything pretty much. So we'll see a period where that'll taper off. Some investments will be successful, some won't be. So that's just natural. It happens in every industry. And then it'll enter the mature stage where it will plateau out and just be a strong, steady industry, right? And there'll be small growth here and there, but we're not going to see this hyper growth for the next 20 years. It'll
definitely die down. It's like AFL, V8 Supercars. They all
Yeah.
had their sort of limitations when it comes to sponsorship, and we're going to see the limitations hit esports very soon.
all the investors that have come in over the past 18 months want to see a return eventually. And when that happens, we'll see who comes out ahead pretty much.
Yeah. And that's where
Because
it
not
will
everyone
sort of shape.
will win. There'll be some winners and some losers. That's the point where we'll see budgets tightening. Maybe it's already started. There's some companies over in America that are already, cutting back. So we'll just see how it goes. But I think we'll still be in hyper growth for the next probably 2 to 3 years, I'd say, maybe even longer. So there's still plenty of investment needing to happen, and a lot of that will come from the non-endemic sponsorship space, where especially locally in Australia, we haven't seen any massive sponsorship money transfer over from traditional sports or from traditional media over into esports yet. There's been a little bit, but really not enough to warrant all the investment we've had here. So
Yeah.
that's going to happen eventually because it's hard to ignore.
It will shrink back down in size, I think.
Yeah, it's hard to ignore an audience this size. So it just takes a lot of education to educate sorry the management teams on all these companies about what is esports and how can we get involved. We'll see a bit of a a domino effect. Once one company gets in, all their competitors will get in within the next 6 months, and then that'll happen for a while.
Yeah, and to whether things are successful or not is also going to come down to who's working with who's giving up what information, and genuinely hoping that people aren't going to talk to these esport consultants, because all of that's just a big joke. People really do need to find people to connect with, that have got good rapport within the community. Like people like Chris Smith. Lots of people go to him just because of the name that he's got within the community. If you're looking to get into it, he's probably your first point of call in terms of somebody who isn't tied in with a biased opinion. All that, it works with any sort of business. Make sure you do your research, make sure you're talking to the right person, and make sure you're talking to the person who can say yes or no.
Yeah, that's just blatant truth, unfortunately.
All right. What's the next topic we should talk about?
Well, the next topic that we got is the DarkSided fighter game player.
Wazminator.
Yeah, Wazminator.
Yeah, we qualified for Summit, yeah. I saw something about this not long ago.
So the post that we've got from it is just looking back over
So
it
what
again.
this is, Waz has been a fighting game player for ages. He's been in DarkSided for like probably at least 2 years, maybe.
Yeah, he's been with.
This was a competition from Smash GG, to get into a massive tournament, international tournament.
Yeah, Summit.
And you had to go through a bunch of different stages to get the invite. I think the first one was like a voting system where they had a bunch of votes, and then the second step was you had to get points by buying the Smash merch.
Oh, what? Huh.
Yeah.
There was a whole really convoluted system that they'd set up for the whole thing, but
yeah, and then the community that bought the most merch and got the most points, they're number one. They would win it, and then they'd get their player sent over, and that was he's a streamer, so yeah, he obviously the Australian community really got behind him, and awesome to see that he'll be heading over there.
That's incredible.
He definitely deserves it. I've met Waz, and he's a great guy. Obviously going to be supporting him in this tournament, hoping that he does great things for Australian FGC.
Well, of course, I've caught his stream a few times, and I mean that kid can play some fighting games like a crazy man. So, I mean, he's got definite potential to do some damage at an international level. I've seen him do some crazy things. I'm not gonna lie, just some crazy things. But
I was just having a look at his Twitter feed, and yeah, he's the stuff that he can do in Mortal Kombat. Now, this game's only been out for like 5 days. No, that's a lie. Like a week. My God, he's a absolute unit.
And he jumps from games to game too. Like a lot of fighting players do that. How they're good at like, say Street Fighter. They'll also be good at Tekken, and they'll also be good at Justice.
I mean, the skills are fairly easy to transition. It's more just like
I feel like that's a silent beauty about fighting games is how easy a player like they can renew their esports lifespans, so to say, because they can transition these skills over so easily from game to game.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the similar thing can be said about FPS games where, if you've got that natural aim, you can pretty easily transfer it over.
Yeah.
But I think it's even easier for FGC because there's not really like lateral movement. It's just all like back and forward.
Yeah, and all the mechanics are exactly the same.
I did see, like, in regards to the mechanics in the newest Mortal Kombat, I was having a fiddle with it last week, and in the menus, the like the offset settings that you can change for button delay and response and everything like that, like what they've put in it's incredible. I've never seen any of that stuff in a fighting game.
Well, you got to remember with fighting games, timing is the most. It's basically everything.
Yeah, their animations and timing. Yeah, 100%. And I'd never seen it. Like I used to play a lot of fighting games and never saw any of those settings in the menu. And like in the newest Mortal Kombat, you can have tournament rules to play with online, or you can use your own settings and stuff like that to delay the offset or shortcut moves. Like they've
added a whole heap of customizability to it. And I mean, it's great. It is great. It's actually amazing. It just adds that another like depth of flavor to the tournament quality essentially, and the player quality in particular. So I mean, it's great to see now that these developers are sort of picking up on their competitive sides and being like, yeah, we should play to these because there's longevity and there's like some real growth behind like just keeping to and appealing to in your updates all these like professional players. So
Right. There's not much else on our list. So
I guess it brings us to the other topic of the night, unless anyone's got anything else they want to discuss.
Does the chat have any questions? Anyone in chat want to ask us anything, really? What about you guys? Anything else that we've missed that you guys want to talk about? I wanted to mention that there's a viewing party for the IM Sydney at Bankstown Sports Club.
oh, okay.
It's for the group stage, so I think it's runs from Tuesday to Thursday. These guys have been looking to get in to local esports for a while. I've seen them at a bunch of conferences, so I actually really like what they did here, linking up with ESL to host the official group stage viewing at their venue.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So
That's
their
especially
venue
nice.
has a bunch of restaurants that has an actual esports like section there where you can play. It has a kind of like a theater with 3 screens. There's a tweet on ESL Australia if you guys want to look at the video.
Okay.
Yeah, so unfortunately I can't go because I'm busy during the week, but yeah, I definitely would be going if you know, if
Well,
you
I mean, if I still lived in Sydney, I used to live around Bankstown, so I would go there if I still lived there. But unfortunately, I can't really get there. So
Monkey Boy's got a good question, even though a lot of us covered it. Thoughts about the Shade House?
pretty shady.
I mean, it looks pretty sunny from the video.
It does look pretty sunny from the videos, but I don't know. I'm pretty skeptical about whether or not it'll actually be
I don't know. I haven't been
as
able to
big as
see
we
the
think it is.
video.
Based on what I've seen, all the videos and content they've put out, they're trying to base it around what the Click Crew have done. But in my opinion, there's not enough talent in Australia in terms of streamers to sort of get
No.
that off the ground unless they're bringing people from overseas in. It's not going to work, you know. I mean, the Click Crew have already got probably what's considered the highest ranking streamers in Australia, all bundled up into one. And for Shade to sort of, it's just going to come down to the sort of content they put out. I mean, if they're going to make it very ad heavy, it's not going to be successful.
I didn't think they all still lived in the same house in that Click house.
In
thing.
Click Crew, yeah.
Yeah.
They all live together, yeah.
Who's doing the
I mean-
cleaning in that place? Fuck.
I mean, I'm sure they hire someone.
Oh, for sure. They definitely have someone around.
But yeah, this is just going to like they've got a lot of traditional sporting figures who are involved in this, such as Shane Warne, one ex-AFL commentator, I believe, and a few other sporting icons. This is just going to come down to how they execute it and the people they bring in. If the people they bring in don't produce good content, it's not going to work for them. And
Yeah.
just based off, you know, the sort of hype they try to generate, and then you look at the views they're getting on their YouTube, it's already looking pretty dull.
I
It'll
always
be
look at the
interesting.
YouTube comments, and the comments haven't been
Yeah, I haven't
Very-
exactly been
very
very
enthusiastic.
uplifting. Let's just say that. I've seen a few of them, and
I don't know. I always try and look on the bright side because I think I don't
It's an
like dwelling on
opportunity,
negative, and I still can't really see what they're trying to achieve here. It feels like
It's too much of
I
a
just
niche
don't-
market.
I don't really understand it. Maybe they're holding something back, but I don't know.
think so.
If I was in charge of this and I saw that kind of launch and the reactions from,
I would be jumping.
you know,
I'd
if,
pull the pin.
Yeah.
even the angry dad, he's like the main guy, right? He's got the biggest following of that whole place as far as I can tell. I don't even know the other people, but probably because the audience is not aimed at me. But
I just don't see why they went from being these like the Angry Dad stuff is all like vines and short videos, viral content, and now they're just bridging over into gaming.
See,
Like, there's no reason for it.
Angry Dad, the old fella himself, the young kid, I don't know what his name is. I think he does a radio show
Jackson.
or something. I think it's just him and all his mates who are just like, yeah, we can do this. And they're basically just trying to base it off what everyone else has done. There's nothing new. They're not showing anything, out there, something different. Click Crew has already got it covered. They've already got that viewership.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone can really compete with those numbers they're putting in. Like Cray, who's a part of the Click Crew, is just an absolute legend of a bloke himself. The type of personalities that they've got in there, it's going to be way too hard for them to compete with. And all of these people, with what they're investing their money into, there is a million other things I could think of that would produce a better return or better numbers than what they're getting.
Mm.
I think you
It's
hit
like
the
you said.
nail on the head earlier, Braden, when you said that there's just not enough big content creators locally to pull this off. A second, like Click have all the big dogs, and yeah, it doesn't seem like Shade is going to be able to compete in the
Yeah.
gaming space anyway.
Oh no. I mean, time will tell. But yeah, I just don't think they've got.
I'm still waiting for this
to
like
really know.
traditional influencer connection, because that was something that was their selling point, right? That was
Yeah,
their
Shane
point.
Warne.
That was their point of difference. But there was a bunch of people that were in an announcement, but I haven't seen them on any of the videos.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen, apart from knowing the behind the scenes part of the fact that Shane Warne is involved in this somehow.
It's
we
just
haven't
his
seen any-
son, right? It's Shane Warne's son is one of the
Yeah.
guys that's
He's just
in the
convinced
house.
his dad to be
So
like,
it's
this is
just-
something I'm
For
doing.
real?
Yeah, it's kids playing with parents' money.
Oh my god. It's gonna. Okay. No good can come of this then, if that's the case. Like,
I mean, you just got to look at the recent video they put out on YouTube. I think it went for 10 minutes long. It was just full of flux and C's and this and that. And it's just, if you're trying to home in an audience within Australia, you're targeting the wrong audience. Like Australia isn't 70% redneck like America is.
Wow.
It's just
Hang on
not
here.
gonna happen.
Braden, we're trying to get an audience too. So apologies to all the redneck Americans that are watching this.
Oh, what do you mean? They're all my
Still love you.
But no, what I'm trying to put across is that we just don't. The audience that they're trying to captivate isn't going to put up the sort of numbers to compete against the Click Crew.
Yeah.
But in saying that as well, if they bring in, say, a couple of international streamers, well, then that could make it absolutely massive. But yeah, I don't see it working. I just see it as a bunch of YouTube kids who have got a YouTube house who are just going to do stupid pranks and stupid shit all the time. And they're all still living, back in 2010. It's just not.
Yeah.
I think bringing internationals in was actually a pretty smart idea, because a lot of Americans, I'm sure, would love to hang out at a beach house in Australia.
yeah.
So if they could leverage that, that'd be a great option. The problem with that is they're probably already making so much bank in the US that they wouldn't want to come and move to
Why risk
Australia
it?
for peanuts, because
It'd have to be a hefty sum that they were getting
they
paid.
probably
Oh,
have to
yeah.
be getting some kind of equity share, to be
But
honest.
yeah.
they could still do it. It just means that they'd have a shit sleeping schedule, just to coincide with what they're doing in NA.
Yeah.
But even in saying that, you can look at, I think it was PAX last year when I think some YouTube group called Misfits that rocked up, just stormed the whole Twitch booth. Everyone was there, cheering their names, blah blah blah. If they're looking to run it at a YouTube end, with these sort of boy band YouTube teams or whatever, it could work instead of looking at more Twitch focused. They're more looking at YouTube groups. But even then, it's too much of a gamble compared to what they could be investing in and producing, a better return. In terms of timeline, to me it just sounds like it's kids who have got parents' money, and only time will tell.
Yeah, the jury's still out. I'm still waiting to be impressed. Yeah,
They've left.
the launch wasn't successful. I would
No,
say that
definitely.
if I was rating the launch out of 10, and comparing it to the Click launch, I'd probably give maybe like a 7.
Yeah. It wasn't
and-
perfect, but it worked. It did.
yeah, like it was good enough. Obviously, the personalities in Click a lot bigger, so that affects things. But Shade launch was like 2,
Yeah.
maybe 3.
We're gonna have to watch that video if it's a 2.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, with
Just,
your
just
launch,
the launch strategy in general, like with all the people they had on Instagram and all these like traditional sporting people that were giving them a shout out and everything.
Yeah, I mean the best way to look at it is, I mean, anyone can go hire an Airbnb and go, look at my sick pad, man. I'm gonna make a sick YouTube video here, blah blah blah, which is basically what the Shade launch was. You know, they didn't really unveil anything. It's great, you've got an awesome, good-looking house, but why else am I gonna come watch you? Because
Yeah.
all they've really said is, we've got this awesome house.
That's pretty much it. Yeah, I've seen
So-
nothing else from them.
It's been done before, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You got to think outside the box these days.
So it'll be interesting. I don't think it's gonna
Oh, well,
work.
we'll see. I think they need to pivot. Personally, I think they need to
Yeah.
change it up. All right, boys.
Good times.
Anything else from the chat?
No, I got nothing.
Nothing else
Didn't see
there.
anything else.
Is there any other questions anyone would like to ask us? I don't think so.
What we got? Got some emojis.
Got some emojis. Yeah, I think that's just
What
about
up,
it.
batch plays? How you going?
No.
When is the next jam event going to be?
Yes. Yes.
There's
I
a
think,
question.
I think CrustyJoker was at our event in Bendigo, if I remember.
The Pathways thing.
Yeah, the Pathways program.
Oh, is he the one that was talking in Discord the other night?
I think so. Hello, CrustyJoker.
Hey,
When's the
mate,
next
how you
jam
going?
event? We
Working
don't have
on it.
anything planned, but
It is,
yeah, never say
there's a
never.
few things in the loophole or the pipeline at the moment.
In the loophole.
But yeah, hopefully later on in the year, jam pathways will be up and running again. Just working on a few ends here and there, but we've got a venue with a school in Bendigo that we can run them through, so it should be good.
That's awesome.
Thoughts on Apex Mogul? We did talk about Apex Mogul in our last.
Yeah, we talked about it
podcast, I
last.
think.
Yeah,
Hmm.
episode 4.
But
I mean,
I think
Tooth
it's
has some
great.
stuff to say.
I think the general thoughts is that it's good. But we gotta really, they gotta be figuring out how to deal with cheaters and how to actually run it, because there's nothing, in game that's gonna help them on that.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
well, the thoughts on Mogul itself, I think, is awesome. The fact that Mogul, who's been more predominantly from their launch focused on the Asia area, such as the Thailand and the Philippines and all that, who have come in and have just basically gone, here's 35,000, let's get a Apex tournament going, is great. But in terms of the Apex scene as a whole, unless the devs release something that is going to actually support the players within the game, it is going to die so fast it's not funny.
well, yeah. I
Um,
mean, Apex itself has actually seen like a very large shortage of actual game.
People are
In
just getting
platform
bored,
updates.
aren't they?
Well, I mean, they're
Yeah.
not doing anything. Like they,
well,
they
they've got-
literally.
there's no custom game servers. There's no
No.
replay files.
They've
there's
said it
nothing
since
sort
day
of-
one.
Yeah, there's
It's-
nothing around a team environment to sort of help this game go competitive, which then shows the limelight, on the devs when this game first come out, and the Reddit posts they're putting up, and all this and all that, and their timeline that they're trying to follow. Well, the timeline that they were trying to follow was that when the Battle Pass come out, was that players were going to see a whole new access, a whole new range of access to the game.
Players
and
saw
none of that's there.
that.
Yeah, they've seen none of that, and we're already seeing streamers have left. We're starting to see players that are saying, we want to be professional players in this game. Well, they've left. They've gone back to their old games, Fortnite, Overwatch,
Yep.
whatever it may be.
It's
The
yeah.
support's just not there, and that's why when you're looking at things like Halo coming into the picture, where it's not a battle royale game, it's going to be up there because it's on PC. It's going to be up there with CS.
Mm. And
hands down.
all maps have always been free in Halo. That's one thing that you've never had to
Yes,
pay
yeah.
for is any DLC. You get the game and you get a full game. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested as to whether or not that will actually change come the whole PC route, because obviously, yeah, this is for Halo's second.
One and
Yeah, but
two.
you just got to think, right? You just got to think with Halo coming out, right? How big it was on console, right? Now they're saying that we're bringing out Halo onto PC, but then you got to think there's Halo Arena, there's a whole different variety of games that are attached to Halo.
Plus, Halo's
gonna
already
come.
got its MLG rules and everything established
Exactly.
from.
They're
and
very
with-
much established.
With
Ooh, yeah.
say like games like Quake Arena, which is basically all based around Halo when it came out. If something like that comes out, well, it's already got its own battle royale. You know what I mean? It's battle royale within Halo or within the Quake scene itself has been around for a decade. It's been around for ages.
Yeah, for sure.
So in my opinion, unless Apex pulls the plug and actually gives what they've promised, it's going to be dead by the end of the year. And when Halo comes out, all my tickets are on Halo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Has there been any word about a release date for Halo PC?
May. There's been whispers of at least one of them dropping in May. So they're doing them. So they're not porting them. It won't be a straight port. They're actually.
You mean next month or May next year?
No, next month, as in like the end of May next. Yeah, in like 30 days.
Oh, shit.
Oh, shit.
Let's go.
At least one of them, I think, Reach is what they're starting with.
Yeah, well, Reach was their biggest one because when Reach come out was when Red versus Blue and the Halo series, movie series come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
It does make sense for that to be their main port of call.
Because then that could be a whole new, relaunch into Red versus Blue, then their merch sales.
Yeah, and I think that's why they're targeting Reach as the first one, because Reach is still the only one that's not in the MCC collection on Xbox.
Right.
So the rest of them are already all there except Reach. So I think that's why they're targeting Reach as the first, and then they'll stagger the releases out. But they're actually rebuilding them for PC, so they're not just porting them over. So you'll get an actual quality game. Yeah. So they're taking their time.
That happened really quickly. Then they must have been towards their end of development.
I can guarantee you they've been working on it for ages.
Oh shit! Yeah.
It's all just come down
Like,
to time.
the game's ready. Like the game's ready to go. They just got to
do everything else.
Yeah.
tweak the graphics and make sure that everything works.
And I
with
think
different setups.
And the biggest news for it coming to PCs, it's not just in the Microsoft store. Like Microsoft's allowing it to be sold in Steam.
Yeah, it's going to be up on Steam as well.
Yeah.
Are they allowing like third-party server hosts, or is everything hosted by Halo?
Microsoft
believe
is
in
always
what
hosted. They've always had their own dedicated servers. I don't. Maybe that'll still continue. I assume it would. Surely they'd have to have something.
I don't reckon it will.
You don't reckon?
I don't reckon it will. Because they do have when with all of their NA comps and stuff in LA, they do have like custom access and all that sort of set up for those events. So I do believe because they're bringing it to PC, they want it to be in the competitive environment straight away.
Yeah, and they've always allowed.
They'll come out with custom servers.
Yeah,
I believe they will.
And they've always had LAN capabilities in every LAN's always been a primary function built into
definitely.
it.
Hopefully it stays like that, because you don't want, especially like from our perspective in OCE, our region's often left to like the last dot point in terms of like getting servers and getting
getting anything.
And
in general.
at the moment, that's a bit of the smack in the face, because me and a mate have been playing through all of the Halo campaigns from start to finish, and we've jumped into a bit of multiplayer, and now we have two servers in Australia. We've got one in Sydney and one in Melbourne, and the pings are super low, but because no one in Australia is playing them on console, we're being pushed over to West Coast US to like 220 millisecond pings. And it's just a smack in the face, because you look at the screen and it's got network. Oh yeah, you've got two servers in Australia, but no one's playing them. So, yeah.
No, it'll be good because, well, the reason why Halo is going to be so big is that A, it's not a new game. B, it's coming out onto PC officially for the first time. And nobody has to worry about betas or bugs or this or that. You know, it's like Chris said, the game's it's packed, it's ready to go. Like let's get this on the go and rolling.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. It's going to be really good. I'm keen. I mean, I don't know if I've made that known or not. I'm pretty keen.
All right, I think we're probably finished up for tonight.
Yep.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, it's been a good night.
Yeah.
Let me find someone to host from the team.
All right.
And you can do the outro if you want. KB?
All right. Well, guys, thank you all very much for coming along. It's been wonderful. If you all want to give a little spiel, then I'll say my goodbyes. Chris, if you want to go first.
Sure. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you check out our Discord if you want to come chat with us. It's discord.gg/jam. We'll be back next weekend. And yeah, over to you, Toos.
Yeah, guys, you can follow me at jam_toos. Be sure to check out all of the Jam socials. Keep up to date on when the spread's going live. Obviously, it's every Sunday night unless there's a public holiday or something like that on, like we just had with Easter. But cheers for tuning in, guys.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming by. It's been a great chat. Obviously, keep an eye out on Jam socials. Make sure you stay up to date with everything we're doing, and we'll be back next Sunday.
Indeed, we will. And yeah, guys, thank you all. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been wonderful. Chris, thank you for letting me host. It's been great. And we shall catch you all Sunday 7:30.
Yes, sec. I'm just gonna host Aiden, who's a member of our affiliate team. He's a Fortnite player. So if you guys like Fortnite, make sure to stick around and say hello in the chat, and tell him to spread the jam.
Tell them to spread the
Sounds
jam.
All right, guys.
Spread the jam.
Until next week. Catch you
See ya.
then. Bye.
Bye.